Welcome to Guardians of the Wild Sky, a cooperative survival crafting game set in an enormous open world, hundreds of kilometers in size. You play as an adventurer in search of hidden treasures who's crash-landed in a mysterious new world. The world is populated with powerful creatures called Guardians, each with unique abilities to help you survive. There's so much more we'd like to show you, but first, let's start at the beginning. Here's some Guardians. These are called Driftwings, and they can help you to explore the world. I've thrown a capture crystal. This creates a bond between the Guardian and I. Let's capture a few more so I can start to build out my team. Now we can deploy a Driftwing and use its gliding ability to land safely below. Let's go! The world is teeming with all kinds of wildlife. I need to be careful to avoid angering this silverwing flying nearby. While we're up high off the ground, let's scout below and look for a good spot to set up camp. This beach looks good. Here's an example of a simple base you can build. I've got my fire pit to cook food and stay warm, a simple shelter for crafting and resting, and a few farming plots to grow some food. Let's go fishing! I know my Driftwing loves to eat fish. That should keep him happy for a bit. I can tend to my garden and grow food, or even go digging along the beach in search of hidden treasures. You can also put your Guardians to work around your base. They each have different jobs available, and they'll automatically get to work. They can help you build, craft, harvest resources, water your gardens, and much more. Think of Guardians like your companions. They can automate a lot of tasks for you. While they work, let's go exploring. We can see a new Guardian up ahead, the Griffon. I can use the spyglass to observe its behavior. It'll also reveal important information about its personality, likes and dislikes. This is useful information to have before you approach a new Guardian. This one can be tough to capture, but we can improve our chances by feeding it something nice. I know that the Griffon is a carnivore, so I've thrown a savor meat treat on the ground nearby. Hey, I think the Griffon liked it. We should have a much easier time capturing him now. Success! Here's the Guardian deck. As you discover new Guardians, you'll unlock entries here. Within the deck, you can complete tasks to earn experience and work towards 100% completion. While Guardians can be your companions, if you feel like being a bit evil, you can use them in other ways. The Fluff is a friendly Guardian, but it's got some explosive properties to it. I can use some of the ones I captured and throw them like a bomb. Be careful, they will fight back. There's a lot to see and do in this world. You can explore outposts and towns, like the one we're entering now. This is a small desert town. Here, you can meet interesting characters and accept quests, or you can trade with a merchant. Almost every item in the game can be sold and traded. There are plenty of towns and points of interest littered all over our world, ready for you to explore. Let's take a look at some combat. Your Guardian can fight alongside you. If you start a battle, they'll automatically join the fight. You can let it handle combat on its own, or you can issue orders directly. These enemies here are called Rat Kings, and they've got powerful storm-based attacks. But my Guardian's nature type makes him a strong counter. There's one down. It's important to keep a mix of different Guardian types in your party. Each enemy you face has strengths and weaknesses, and you need to pick the right one for battle. Got it. Not only can you fight alongside your Guardians, you can also use another ability called Shapeshift. This is the Water Tusk Mammoth, a very powerful Guardian. I can shapeshift and control the Mammoth's abilities as if they were my own. Let's go hunting. There's some cultists up ahead. They tend to stick together, but the Mammoth has strong AoE attacks, perfect for taking on groups of enemies like this. As you can see, I made short work of these enemies. If I had attempted that fight on my own, I would have been in for a much tougher challenge. Let's take another look at base building. Our system is a significant improvement over what we built in Citadel Forged with Fire. We offer a lot of different shapes and let you rotate in all directions. A wall piece can become a slanted roof, or even a floor, depending on how you rotate it. You can rotate pieces to create patterns, sculptures, and all kinds of interesting architecture. And of course, you can also use a dedicated roof or floor piece instead. The choice is yours. Now, you might be asking, I've built my base, but what if I want to move it? Well, we've got just the thing for you. It's time to introduce flying castles. In our game, you can build structures that fly. You can fly your entire base over to a new location while your guardians work within it. You can craft, build, cook, and do anything else you'd normally do on solid ground. This is a cooperative game after all, so I've teamed up with a few friends and we're ready to set sail and explore the world. Airships are the best way to explore. They're faster and more agile than moving an entire base. With sailing, you need to factor in the wind's direction and set your course accordingly. You can raise and lower your sails to speed up or slow down. You can use the rudder to steer your boat, using the wind to your advantage to cover huge distances. When you're out in the cloud sea, keep your eyes open for valuable resources. These floating creatures resemble jellyfish. They're relatively peaceful, but you need to be careful if you wish to harvest them. Ouch! That hurt. Just like your flying bases, you can also build directly on your airships. You can build a crafting station and gear up for your next adventure. You can cook meals, grow plants, or even go fishing in the clouds. There's a new island up ahead. Let's go and check it out. We can again use our drift wings and glide down to solid ground. Let's go exploring. These mounts are ideal for exploring big open spaces. Each mount comes with different bonuses. For example, some may give you added warmth for cold biomes, or provide you with an elemental shield. Some mounts can even fly. Here's the Silverwing. It's got powerful fire-based attacks, which you can launch from high above. Here's another fun one. You can go surfing with this guardian. This ability is especially useful on islands with large lakes or oceans. And don't worry, you can breathe underwater. It looks like there's a cultist camp up ahead. These guys are pretty deadly, and they are well armed compared to the ones we previously fought. We can coordinate an attack using our air superiority. A few of my allies can head back to the ship. Let's arm this thing with cannons and fly it into position. The rest of us will attack on foot, while our friends bombard from high in the sky. Let's get ready. Open fire! There's a wide variety of weapons available for combat. We've got ranged weapons like muskets and bows, and plenty of melee weapons for close combat. Players are encouraged to choose weapons that complement a team of guardians. If you select the right elemental weapon, you and your guardian can hit enemies with a 1-2 punch to combine into debuffs and status effects. I think that's the last of them. The cultists are defeated. Now we can claim a reward and take it back to our ship. In a world this vast, there's always another mystery waiting to be uncovered. From sunken ruins to frozen peaks guarded by ancient titans. But in the skies, danger is never far behind. And that concludes our gameplay demonstration. This game is a true labor of love, and there's so much more we'd like to show you. If you liked what you saw, please consider adding Guardians of the Wild Sky to your wishlist. Thanks for watching.
The Last of Us Part 3 has become one of the most anticipated games in the industry, attracting both dedicated fans and newcomers drawn in by the hit show. Although official details are scarce, there is a lot of speculation and rumors circulating. Naughty Dog's creative director, Neil Druckmann, has confirmed that the game is in development, likely for the PlayStation 5. However, considering the potential release of next-gen consoles, a tie-in with the PlayStation 6 is also possible. The original The Last of Us ended ambiguously, but didn't necessitate a sequel. However, Neil Druckmann and the team at Naughty Dog felt there were more stories to tell in that world, resulting in the equally impressive The Last of Us Part 2. Unlike the first game though, the sequel left many questions unanswered that demanded at least one more upcoming video game. Initially, the team was working on a multiplayer spin-off called The Last of Us Online. However, we now know that project has been abandoned and the team is once again focusing on single-player games. One of those games is indeed The Last of Us Part 3. Naughty Dog is considered one of the best studios at PlayStation, alongside Insomniac and its upcoming PS5 game Marvel's Wolverine and Sucker Punch's Ghost of Yotei. While it was initially ambiguous, we can now for sure say a third chapter is on the way. But what other bits of information have we been able to scavenge while sneaking around clickers? Activate your listen mode so you catch all the details we have on The Last of Us Part 3. The Last of Us Part 3 release date may be closer than you think. The speculation over the next installment in the best-selling and award-winning action-adventure series from Naughty Dog and PlayStation is the result of a new update from the former, via the mouth of Neil Druckmann, the studio head of Naughty Dog, and the co-creator of The Last of Us, a series he shepherds as its creative director. While no release date has been announced, the current consensus suggests that the game may be ready by 2027. Druckmann has hinted at future projects within the Last of Us series, but strong rumors indicate that this may be the last installment featuring both Joel and Ellie. The studio's dedication to quality storytelling and innovative gameplay has set high expectations for this sequel, meaning they will likely take the necessary time to perfect it. While we know that The Last of Us Part 3 is at least being worked on in some capacity at Naughty Dog, we have no idea how far along it is, or when we can expect to see it. Based on the incredible level of polish and attention to detail the studio likes to put into its games, it is possible we won't see The Last of Us Part 3 until 2027 or later. Speaking to Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, Druckmann supposedly revealed in a recent podcast appearance that he has been working on his current project since 2020. He does not say this project is The Last of Us 3, but this is presumably what it is. It is possible he and his team at Naughty Dog are working on a new IP, or even an Uncharted revival. However, considering the success of the TV show, which will need new content after it finishes covering the events of the second game, it is almost certainly The Last of Us 3. According to Druckmann, PlayStation has given him a ton of freedom with the project, which isn't surprising to hear considering his pedigree and importance to PlayStation. However, what he hasn't been given control of is when it will be revealed. That said, if the game has been in the works since 2020, that means it has been in the works for 5 years, and is presumably quite far along in development as a result. While this may come as a surprise to some PlayStation fans, it isn't that surprising when you analyze the timeline of Naughty Dog, which last shipped a game, The Last of Us Part 2, in 2020. In other words, it makes sense something else has been in the works since then. Further examination of the Naughty Dog timeline suggests whatever this mystery game is, it's not very far away. 5 years separated the release of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End and The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog's previous 2 major releases. To this end, it seems safe to assume whatever this game is, it is probably not very far away. Whether it will be ready for a reveal and release in 2027 remains to be seen, but it is certainly on the table as a possibility when you consider the developer's track record of releases and their development times. The Last of Us Part 3 is only barely announced, let alone deep in development. It could be a long time before we see it, so pre-orders are still a long way away. The only thing we know for sure is that The Last of Us Part 3 will be on PlayStation platforms, specifically the PS5. Unless the game takes so long that a next-generation system comes out and the team decides not to make it cross-generational, you can feel safe knowing it will be playable on your PS5. Since both previous games have made their way to PC, The Last of Us Part 3 likely will too. Previous games took over a year to arrive on PC, and while things may change by the time the game finally arrives, it is safe to assume PC players will wait at least a full year before it comes to that platform. There's not a single trailer, screenshot, or even piece of concept art for The Last of Us Part 3. All we have for now are a few words about its existence in the most high-level way. The first real word about Naughty Dog working on single-player projects came with its statement on the cancellation of The Last of Online, in which the studio states, "We have more than one ambitious, brand new single-player game that we're working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more about what comes next when we're ready." With the release of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, we also got the making of documentary called Grounded 2. At the very end, Druckmann spoke about a possible third entry. I've been thinking about, is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept. But recently that's changed. I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that, to me, is as exciting as exciting as 2, is its own thing, yet has this through line for all 3. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to this story. While it isn't technically confirmed to be related to The Last of Us Part 3, Troy Baker, who played Joel in both games, had an interview with GQ mainly focused on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, in which he confirms to be part of whatever Druckmann's next game is. Technically, this could be one of the other projects the studio has said it is working on, especially since we know the fate of Joel. However, there are plenty of ways Joel, or even a new character played by Troy, could feature in a third game. While The Last of Us Part 2 provided closure to its narrative, lingering threads offer potential avenues for exploration in a sequel. The focus could return to Ellie Williams, the protagonist of the first two games, navigating life after bidding farewell to Joel Miller. Ellie's quest for revenge resulted in profound losses, and Part 3 could follow her journey of rediscovery and purpose. Alternatively, the narrative could shift to Abby, the perceived antagonist of Part 2. Her unique perspective, revealed in the latter half of the game, opens doors to exploring the aftermath of her encounter with Ellie. The survival of the Catalina Island Firefly colony, where Abby and Lev sought refuge, could form the backdrop for an engaging storyline. We do not know much about the gameplay yet. It will likely be similar to the other games. This means it will be an action-adventure game with stealth elements. Some people think there will be more focus on stealth and survival. Both The Last of Us games follow a similar stealth action style of gameplay, with limited resources and light horror elements. We suspect the third game to at least use this same base, but include new weapons, enemies, and mechanics, in the same way the sequel evolved over the first. The Last of Us Part 2 did not have multiplayer. We do think The Last of Us Part 3 will not have multiplayer, though. The first game had a multiplayer mode called Factions, and it was very popular. After the cancellation of The Last of Us's live service multiplayer spin-off last December, Naughty Dog posted an update vaguely explaining the reason for the cancellation. Naughty Dog confirmed that it has more than one ambitious brand new single-player game in development, but there's been no official confirmation of what those projects are. It's been heavily rumored that one of these in-development projects is a brand new, possibly sci-fi themed IP from Naughty Dog, but the other projects are complete mysteries. That being said, it feels like it's only a matter of time before Naughty Dog returns to its wildly successful Last of Us franchise, especially if the HBO live-action adaptation continues being such a major success. But if Naughty Dog has learned anything from past events, it might be a while before fans get to see a potential Last of Us Part 3, even if it is in development already. Possibly one of the most leaked video games of all time, The Last of Us Part 2 had multiple major data breaches before the game eventually launched in June 2020. By far the biggest leak, potentially in the entire history of gaming, came in April 2020. After a leaker managed to get their hands on about an hour of The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay and cutscene footage, it was posted online for the world to see. This leak contained now infamous plot details about the game, confirming that Joel would die at the hands of Abby during the game's first act, that Dina was pregnant, and that Jesse would eventually die as well. These leaks were practically unavoidable at the time, with them dominating headlines and social media discourse in the months leading up to The Last of Us Part 2's release. There's no doubt that these leaks drastically affected The Last of Us Part 2's initial reception, with many taking the leaks at face value, deciding at that moment they didn't like the direction Naughty Dog was taking the series, and forming a lasting opinion about the game's story months before they got their hands on its finished form. And once these opinions were formed, they weren't so easily changed. Unfortunately, these extensive leaks have become entwined with The Last of